This is a presentation on the role of operations and for the IB Business Management course at Ridley College. So today I'm going to walk you through kind of what the role of operations is, and we're trying to get to a point where we know and understand operations management and its relation to other business functions. And just to start out with, operations management is concerned with the use of resources called inputs, which are land, labor, and capital. And we're going to go over those a little bit more in detail in a bit, to provide outputs in the form of goods and services. It's the business function that plans, organizes, coordinates, and controls the resources needed to produce a company's goods and services. Now, operations management, like I said, is concerned with that use of inputs called land, labor, capital to provide inputs or provide outputs. And what happens is there's this kind of feedback loop. Inputs get processed through something called the transformation process. We're going to talk about that in a second. They become outputs, and then that influences the types of things that get remade. And this could be through customer feedback. It could be right in the operations process itself. And mostly, operations management managers are concerned with the efficiency of production, quality, flexibility and innovation, and sustainability. And they're constantly trying to improve this process through those concepts. Now, like I said, the first type of input is known as land, and land is usually the term to refer to all natural resources used to produce goods and services. The second type is labor, and that's the effort that a person devotes to a task for which that person is paid. It's usually manual, it could be mental labor, but those both fall in that category. Capital is any human-made resource that is used to produce other goods and services. So this could include machinery, it could include tables and office furniture, it could include the lights, it could include the business or building itself. Now, the transformation process is where those inputs are converted to outputs. The aim is to add value to the inputs in order to sell for profits. The creation of goods and services involves the transforming or the converting inputs into outputs. And various inputs such as the capital, labor, and information, because that's kind of a tag on information as well, are used to create goods and services using one or more of what we call transformation processes. And transformation could be as simple as storing something for a long time, or in cold storage, so keeping something fresh, transporting, repairing. It could be pretty much anything of where inputs are converted into outputs. And to ensure that the desired outputs are obtained, an organization takes measurements at various points of that transformation process, and that's considered feedback, and then compares them to their previously established standards to determine where corrective action is needed. So they're looking at what the information is telling them, if they're doing something inefficiently, or they've wasted products, or if the customer doesn't like it, and then they need to change. And if they don't change, obviously they're going to go out of business pretty soon. And that's called control, the act of the change. There's this concept of value added, and value added is the essence of the operation function. We're always trying to add value to our materials and our products, and we do that through the transformation process. Value added is the term used to describe the difference between the costs of inputs and the value or price of outputs. And this can differ depending on the type of business you have. In a nonprofit, the value of outputs is the value to society. So how nice is it to have fire protection from a fire department? The greater the value added, the greater the effectiveness of those operations. In a for-profit organization, the value of outputs is measured by the prices that customers are willing to pay for those goods and services. So it's a little bit different in its approach. Added value depends on a couple things. It depends on the design of the product and the nature of the service, the efficiency with which the input resources are combined and managed, and being able to convince customers to pay more for the output than they cost the input. And that's really, in essence, what businesses do. They try to get people to pay more because they say that we've added something to this. We're making this more accessible, more comfortable, more technologically advanced. All those things are types of value. And operation decisions, they're never really made in isolation from the other functions of business. While operations we consider to be its own department, it really has its hands in all of the departments. Now, while operations function is responsible for producing products or delivering services, it needs the support and input from other areas in the organization, like marketing, human resource, and finance. To start off with, operations and finance, well, a finance committee or a person who's working in finance, they can't really realistically judge the need for capital investments, make or buy decisions, plan expansions, or relocations. That's more operations stuff. However, on the other hand, operations managers, they can't make large financial expenditures without understanding financial constraints and methods of evaluating financial investments, which is what finance department's all about. So they have to work hand in hand. The second example, the marketing department and operations, well, marketing departments, they may not understand what operations can produce, what due dates it can and cannot meet, what types of customization options they can deliver, what is really possible by operations. And in turn, the operations managers, well, they need information about what customer wants and expectations. It's up to them to design the products, so they need to know what is going to be desirable. A third example, operations and HR. Well, human resource managers must understand job requirements and worker skills if they're able to hire the right people for the available jobs. And to manage employees effectively, operations managers need to understand job market trends, hiring and layoff costs, and training costs. So as you can see, all the departments are super connected, and operations is kind of the glue that holds everything together. One of the things that often gets forgotten is the concept of sustainability when you're working with operations. And sustainability in operations management generally refers to the intergenerational equity, making sure that what exists now can exist later and is going to actually be better later. A sustainable business is an enterprise that has a minimal negative impact on the global, local environment, community, society, or the economy. And a sustainable business strives to meet something called the triple bottom line. It's also called the three Ps: people, planet, and profit. And these are the three pillars of sustainability. And when we think about that, we can look to companies that balance profit, society, and the environment. And really it comes down to ethical conduct in that organization. Are they willing to give up some profit to be able to do something nice for society or nice for the environment? And likewise, while doing those nice things, can they still actually be sustainable and make a profit? And that's really what's important to analyze when we're looking at businesses. Now, the IB expectation is that you are able to analyze and apply operations management in organizations producing goods and services. So I'm going to suggest a couple that you can look at that you might be more familiar with. Coca-Cola is a really easy one to do. There's lots of information about how those operations departments are connected with other people, or you can use Ridley. How is Ridley connected to the operations connected to finance or from marketing and HR? So I would suggest pausing the screen and looking at these kind of types of questions. These would be really good types of questions to practice. Identifying resources involved in the production process at each site. Explain how efficiency in production, quality, flexibility, and innovation and sustainability would impact that business. Provide an example of how operations decisions cannot be made without involving other functions. And you can relate it to the added value as well. So you can do all those things for practice. Would be great idea. And that's it. So hopefully you learned something about operations management, and we'll see you next time.